So as a leader of a band or a person who is responsible for certain aspects of a band, you have to learn the art of giving constructive feedback and criticism in a way that works and in a way that doesn't piss everybody off. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Okay, so jumping right in, I'm going to give you a 5-step process of giving feedback, constructive feedback and criticism to your band members. And I have a 6th bonus tip at the end of this video, which is the most important. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video for that. So first, you should understand that it's important to know your objective of giving this constructive feedback to your band members. Your purpose and objective should always be about addressing the issues and changing the behavior. If it's about some personal gripe or, some ego thing that you have, you're better off just not addressing it at all, because that's the area in which most of the sort of fallouts and tensions happen between band members. And also another thing to consider is whether or not you're going to address the entire band as a unit or the individual person. And whether you do one or the other of these things depend on a lot of factors, but mostly, does the thing that you're addressing apply to the band as a whole, or does it apply to individuals of the band? If it's something that's general and does apply to everyone, then perhaps you're better off addressing it with the band as a whole. On the other hand, if it's something that's specific to, a particular band member, then it's perhaps better off being addressed with that band member alone. Now, it's also important to try not to come off as if you're reprimanding someone, unless, of course, your intent is to reprimand, and to also be as diplomatic and fair as possible. So when you're preparing to give this constructive feedback, you should consider things like the possible reaction of the person or their feelings or their thoughts about what you're addressing. Now, let's get into the 5-step process of giving this constructive feedback and criticism. And right before we jump into that, if you're getting value out of this video so far, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button and the like button on this video. Go ahead and do that now. That lets me know that you appreciate this content, and it lets me know what type of content I should make for you in the future. Okay, so the first thing to do in this process of giving constructive feedback and criticism is start with the positive. So starting with the positive is something I'm sure you've heard before. And the idea here is not to try to be fake or to try to be comforting before you bring the hammer or anything like that. The idea is to set the tone for the conversation and for what you are about to say. It helps you to not just come off as negative or critical to the person you're addressing. So an example of starting off positive would be, hey, I really like the way that you fill in the blank. Or, I really appreciate that you fill in the blank. And again, what you're doing here is just setting the tone for what you are about to talk about and the constructive criticism that you're about to give before you move to the next step. And that leads to the next step. And that next step is to describe what you have observed. And what you're doing here in this step is outlining the problem or the behavior or the issues that are in question. And you need to be very specific about those problems and issues. And you also need to talk about why those problems or issues are important and how they affect the band as a whole. If you aren't specific about the issues that you're bringing, it can sound like you're just kind of making stuff up and bringing your own interpretation to the problems, which is not good for anyone. So be very clear and clean cut about the issues and problems that you're bringing as criticism to this particular person or, band members. If the issue is the person being late, then speak directly to them being late. If it's about them not knowing the music properly or something like that, speak directly to that issue. And then you get to the next step in this process, which is you let them respond. And this is arguably one of the most important steps in this process. It's where you allow them the space to respond and give reasons or explanations for the behavior or the thing that you are addressing. And one of the main reasons that this step is important is because sometimes there can be legitimate reasons for the behaviors that you're addressing. And if that's the case, you want to know about them so you know how to deal with them properly. And it's also important because their response can sometimes dictate what actions you need to take next. It may be the case that the entire thing was just a misunderstanding on everybody's part, or it could be the case that you might need to fire them. And a simple way to get their response or sort of provoke their response after you've outlined the issues is to ask, so what do you think? Now, once you've started off with the positive, once you've outlined the problem and the issues, and once you've allowed them to respond, what you're going to do now is provide recommendations and solutions to the problem. And this is where you offer suggestions or input on how the issues or problems can be remedied or how the situation can be improved. And this is where you really demonstrate that your purpose for bringing this constructive feedback or criticism is to help. It shows that you've at least put some thought into the issue and the problem, and you're not just throwing stuff out there. And so a couple of ways that you can give these solutions and recommendations is start by saying something like, so I would like to see fill in the blank, or something like, do you think you can fill in the blank? And you want to be as specific as possible about the solutions and suggestions that you're bringing. So now, after you've started with the positive and you've outlined the problems and the issues and you've allowed them to respond and you've provided input for them, what you're going to do is summarize the discussion. And this is where you put a bow on the conversation and you sum up the discussion and everything that has been said to erase any room for misunderstanding. You want to do your best to clear up any confusion about the conversation. And a really easy way to sum up the conversation is to start with the phrase, so just to make sure we understand each other, we discussed fill in the blank. Now, here's the bonus tip I promised you, and this is really, really important. If you are going to give constructive criticism and feedback, you need to start with yourself first. You can't give criticism and feedback about something like knowing your music when you yourself don't know your music. You can't give criticism and feedback about band members being on time when you yourself are always late. You will come off as very hypocritical, and any feedback that you give will almost always not be taken. And of course, there are some exceptions to this kind of thing, but generally speaking, you want to always be on your stuff. You want to always have the things in place and doing the things that you're going to criticize or give feedback to other band members about. But the question is for you. How do you bring criticism and give feedback, constructive feedback to your band members? Jump down in the comment section and let me know. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. And listen, did you know that there are a bunch of free resources that I've put together just for you? Everything from an ebook that will give you 10 tips to make more money as a musician, to contracts that you can use to book high-paying gigs, and much, much more. And again, it's all free, and you can find the links to download those resources in the description of this video. And thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope that it was helpful for you and that you've gotten something from it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. And here are some other videos that you can check out right now.